Srimatre Namaha. So, Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasana. Okay, Shravanam means to hear, to listen. So, you're listening to a teaching. Mananam, mana means mind. In Mananam, you're taking that teaching and you are turning it over in your mind. It's like, think of Mananam as a process in which a teaching kind of goes through the filters of your mind again and again and again. You're subjecting it, like you have to sieve the flour for baking a cake. Sometimes the recipe calls for that to be done several times. And so that's exactly what you're doing. You're, allowing this teaching to kind of percolate through the various aspects of your mind. And then there is Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means that teaching is now becomes so much a part of your mind that you start to look at it in your life. You start to see your life from the perspective of that teaching, just as Tatiana shared so beautifully just now. When the teaching has become, has been sitting on your mind and it's been percolating, then every situation you look at looks like, oh, I'm being a Bhandasura right now, you see? And so it just kind of percolates and you start living that teaching. And that is the most effective, most beautiful, most useful way of applying a teaching rather than, listening and then going away, forgetting, coming back, listening again, forgetting. So that continuity is hugely important. And along those lines, now let's talk about what happens next. So we spoke about Deva Shigana Sanghata Stuyamanatma Vaibhava, where Devi is being praised by the rishis, the ganas together, and Bhandasura Vadhodyukta Shakti Sena Samanvita. So she is endowed with the entire army of Shaktis that are capable of slaying Bhandasura, okay, of transmuting the energy of Bhandasura. So now we move on to the next one, which is the 66th nama. Sampatkari Samarudha Sindhura Vraja Sevita. Okay, so technically it means it is a description of this Devi known as Sampatkari. Okay, Sampatkari is a deity who emanates or comes out of Devi's goad, her elephant goad. Okay. Sampath means wealth. Wealth as in auspiciousness, abundance that is given to you. Sampath. Kari means the doer of that. Sama Rudha. Sama means equivalent. Rudha means to be. Arudha means to be mounted. Sindhura Vraja Sevita. Sindhura means elephant. Vraja Sevita. So Vraja means army and Sevita means to serve. So we are talking about this goddess known as Sampatkari who emanates from Devi's goad and takes command of the war elephants of Devi in this war. And she herself is riding an elephant. Okay. Now, Sampatkari, very important understanding of this. All of us are seeking this abundance in our life. All of us want abundance. We all want this wealth. And because we inherently feel like that is missing in our lives, it causes all kinds of seeking. We are seeking this auspiciousness. We are seeking this type of completion. the abundance that we are actually seeking is to feel whole, to feel complete. And that feels like it's missing. It feels like it's missing in our lives on a very deep energetic level. And that leads us on this path of um, seeking more, whether we are seeking, money or material kinds of things, or we are seeking relationships, or we are seeking specific ways of being in society where we want to be acknowledged, we want to be validated, we want to feel like we matter, like we are worth it. All that is part of this word known as sampatkari. Okay, the doer or the giver of sampat is this goddess known as Sampatkari. And she arises out of Devi's goad. Now, the elephant represents or is symbolic for many things. The elephant is symbolic of knowledge. Now, what type of knowledge? The knowledge that limits us, that becomes really heavy like an elephant. What is the knowledge that limits us? It is the knowledge of ourselves, the way we are. Okay, the knowledge that has become very condensed, very dense. Now, all my life, if I keep thinking, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, now that has become my knowledge of myself. That I, whatever I believe about myself becomes my knowledge of myself. If I believe myself to be unworthy, unlovable, to be not enough, that is the knowledge that I'm going to operate from. That becomes the basis of my interaction with the world, and it also becomes the basis of my conflict with the world. And there's another type of knowledge. That is self-knowledge. Beyond this, if we can resolve this type of knowledge, which is this whole contracting, conditioned, limited knowledge, then I can open up to what this Lalitā Sahasranāma is telling us, that I am the goddess. I am already replete, already gifted with all the possible abundance, sampat, in the world. And for that, I'm going to have to ride the elephant of this knowledge, this limited knowledge, and arrive at a higher knowledge, at a higher place. Ride it as in conquer it. Now, elephants are heavy, yeah. They're the heaviest land animals. So our knowledge or our limited knowledge is like that. It is like heavy, it is dense, it keeps us in this realm of limitation, of feeling small, of not being able to do this, that, or the other thing, like not feeling capable. And that sense of smallness is actually very heavy. See, that's the paradox. That sense of smallness is dense. It feels like an elephant. And we're going to have to ride that. And that comes from Devi's goad. Now, the goad, as you may remember from our previous classes, Devi's goad represents expansion, right? So the goad is used actually, it's called an elephant goad. So the elephant trainers, they use this goad to have the elephant do what they want it to do. So when we arrive at this place of opening to Devi's will, her Icha, then we can start to expand by riding the elephant of our limitations. Because that knowledge becomes the goad. That wanting to open to Devi's beauty and expansiveness is the goad that moves the elephant of limitation. And Sampatkari is that goddess who does that. Now, in a battle where, in any kind of war or battle, you're going to have to tackle the most powerful things first. You're going to have to be aware of the most powerful, the most strategic kinds of things right off the bat in a war. Because if you don't know that, that'll be your downfall. And in this battle, right, where a lot of is going on, the elephants are power animals. They are the ones that are, when you are sitting so high up, you have a different vantage point, you can see further away. The elephant is very powerful, can pull weapons, can do all kinds of things, which in a war of this era, it's a big deal. So you're going to have to start with the most important thing. The most important thing is to understand that this very war is the result, or it is the war between this tiny smallness, which is represented by Bhandasara, this smallness, versus expansiveness, which is Devi. Right? So you have to understand that right off the bat. And in another, from another point of view, this elephant and this whole description of this nama is also saying you have to understand what this war is about. And you've heard me talk about this many, many times, many of you. You have to know what the view of the path is. If you don't know what you're up against, then you're just coming here, you'll just learn the chant and it feels good, but it's not going to do that nididhyasana. It's not going to be applicable on a day-to-day basis. So now if you're going about your day and you're going about your life and that smallness comes in. Now think of it this way. You wake up one day, you're feeling good, you're feeling expansive, and then as you're going about and say you scroll on social media and somebody you don't like, you have a conflict with, somebody that you feel is your rival or feel like they did something to you, you come across something from them. What happens immediately? In a flash, this expansiveness contracts into this most dense kind of a thing, and you are pulled down into what? You're pulled down into feeling small. Excuse me, feeling small, feeling contracted, feeling like you're unworthy, feeling rage, envy, all of that. It starts there. It starts at that instant that this expansiveness kind of becomes contracted. What Sampatkari does is she moves in the opposite direction. Moving in the opposite direction means you catch that. You catch that at that instance, that expansiveness kind of got contracted into heaviness. And you use this knowledge, the knowledge of what this is. What is this? It is a sense of smallness. Is it special to you? No, it's universal. It is the very nature of creation. And this is the thing, this feeling of contraction that came about is what we are battling against. That is Bhandasara. And so you use that knowledge to overcome that. So you see how the elephant here is both the heaviness of the smallness, but it's also the expansiveness of the knowledge. It's always all of these shastras, they give us two aspects of the same thing. It's both the poison and the nectar. Okay, Sampatkari sama arudha. So she is sitting in equanimity. So what do you need in this situation where expansiveness suddenly contracts? You need equanimity to be able to rise above that and to see both of these situations in yourself. How you woke up feeling good and how this one thing pulled you down. Actually, nobody did anything. It all happened in you. Right? Nobody did anything. People are just living their lives. Nobody's out to get you. And yet it feels so personal. And that's the downfall. So this is where we invoke Sampatkari Devi. So every time you feel this, think of this nama, Sampatkari Samarudha Sindhura Vraja Sevita. Cultivate some humor. See how that elephant is dragging you down. Try to ride the elephant. Okay, become the elephant trainer. That'll really help you. Yeah, you can add one more thing to your resume, elephant trainer. All right, so become the elephant trainer. Sampatkari Samarudha Sindhura Vraja Sevita. Next nama says Ashwarudha Dishtita Ashwa Koti Koti Bhiravrata. Okay, now Ashwarudha is another goddess. Very beautiful, very auspicious. All of these goddesses, very beautiful, radiant, um, uh, youthful goddess, Ashwarudha. And she emanates from Devi's noose. So while Sampatkari comes from her goad, Ashwarudha comes from her noose. Okay. Ashwarudha Dishtitashva. Ashwa means horses. Okay. Koti Koti Bhiravrata. So she commands this entire army of horses. Okay. Arudha means the rider. So she's the one who rides the horses. Now, what does the horse represent here? The mind. The mind. So she is the one who is, riding this mind, which is influenced by what? The senses. Right? The senses are constantly disturbing us. So there are millions of these, sense objects, sense perceptions that are continuously taking us here and there. It's like the horse runs, wild. So as soon as I hear something, see something, think something, whatever, this horse runs away with it. Now, same example. As soon as that happened, you were expansive, you saw something, you became contracted, and then your mind ran away with it. It started creating all kinds of stories that don't exist. It started going back into the past, going into the future, projecting this is going to happen, that is going to happen, this happened because of this, they are doing this, and I'm sure they're doing that. I'm sure they are saying this about me, or whatever. Hey, like a bunch of wild horses running like completely wild. What does Devi's noose do? It lassos the entire universe and pulls it in towards her. So what is Ashwarudha doing? She's pulling all these horses and saying, don't go there, come here. She's saying, come here. Don't run away with every thought that comes your way. Right? Come back here. So what is required in our sadhana? To remember. To remember that, there's a greater perspective here. And to come back to that. What is that greater perspective? Here, Devi's on her, in this battleground. She's in this process of converting the smallness into greatness, into wholeness. And remembering that is the process of honoring Ashwarudha. So every time your senses go this way and that way, think of this nama. There are infinite possibilities for the senses to drive us astray. Infinite possibilities. The minute you look at something, the minute you hear something, the minute you smell something, the mind creates an impression. The mind comes to a conclusion. And that conclusion will usually be along the lines of that elephant. Because it's so heavy, right? It kind of drags your impression with it into the conclusion about yourself. Again and again, you keep driving in, coming into to the same conclusion about yourself. I'm unworthy. People do this, and I'm so unlucky. I'm so unfortunate. Whatever. Or I'm great. I'm wonderful. Everybody else sucks. Whatever your story of, even that is a story of smallness. Because nobody who truly feels absolutely wonderful and whole compares themselves with anybody else. So any form of comparison, any form of this disturbance within yourself comes from an agitation of the senses. And you have to learn to ride that horse. You have to become the rider of the horse rather than the horse pulling you here and there. Imagine how painful that is, right? The horse dragging you here and there. Yeah, suboptimal. So you want to be the one riding that horse. And that is Ashvarudha. So how do you practice with these namas? Like I said, think of this war against Bhandasura that is being described here is our moment to moment, day to day war within ourselves. And so you can use each of these namas as an entry into Devi's presence. So, for instance, you can say Om, you can add Om if you want. Om Sampatkari Samarudha Sindhura Vraja Sevitayai Namaha. Okay, that whole nama and add Namaha as a remembrance. Ashvarudha Dishtita Ashvakoti Koti Bhiravritayai Namaha. Okay, so this is the 67th. Then the Sahasranāma goes on to describe the Chakra Raja. Number 68. Chakra Raja Ratharuda Sarva Yudha Pariskrita. So seated, now Devi is seated in the middle of all this. All this is going on here. There's Ashvarudha, there's Sampatkari, and here is Devi sitting on Chakra Raja. Do you know what the Chakra Raja is? The Sri Chakra. She's sitting on this chariot that looks like the Sri Chakra right in the center of this Bindu. And there's this whole formation around her where all the yoginis of the Sri Chakra are basically her attendants. They are all part of her army. And that's why it's called Chakra Raja, the king of chakras. So the king of all yantras is this Sri Chakra. And Devi rides that chariot. Geya Chakra Ratharudha Mantrini Parisevita. Then on one side of her is another chakra where that is being has in it Mantrini. Geya Chakra Ratha Arudha. Geya Chakra. So that chakra is known as Geya Chakra. If this is the Chakra Raja, that is the Geya Chakra. Ratha means chariot. Arudha, riding. Mantrini Parisevita. Mantrini is Matangi. Mantrini Parisevita. She is worshipped. Devi, Mahatripura Sundari, is worshipped by Mantrini. Now, Geya. Geya means a couple things. It means song. It means to be sung. Geya Chakra Ratharudha Mantrini Parisevita. So Matangi is riding this chariot, which is known as Geya Chakra, and she herself is known as Mantrini. Mantra means the tool that expands your mind. The tool that expands your mind is known as mantra. And she, as the embodiment of mantra, is serving Devi in her chariot known as Geya Chakra. Now, this is it's a very subtle concept, so pay attention. Geya means, as I said, song or to be sung. And here it is referring to the song of the breath, the vibration that is ongoing in our breath. The undying, the continuous vibration of the breath is known as that song. That is the eternal song. So she is the mantra of the breath. How does she worship Devi? As the breath. And that breath is the mantra. The vibration of that breath is known as Soham. Soham. So inhalation, exhalation, which thankfully has nothing to do with our voluntary control. You can't die by holding your breath. There are parts of the brain that override that voluntary thing, and it will restart the breath. It's not possible to die by holding your breath. It's a continuous thing. So, in other words, she's serving the Chakra Raja. Devi in the Chakra Raja is being served, as in it is being fueled by the sound of the breath. What is the Chakra Raja? It is this body. So Devi is residing in this body, and she is served by Matangi, who is the sound of the breath. This yantra that is occupied by Mahatripura Sundari is fueled. The fuel for the food, the fuel for this yantra. Yantra means instrument. The fuel for this instrument is mantra. It is the song. It is this vibration. So, in other words, the vibration is the one that creates or actually fuels this yantra to come alive. Our whole body is the Sri Chakra on this level. But the whole body of Lalitā Devi is this universe. And it is fueled by the sound of the breath. The whole universe is breathing, and that is Matangi. And she's known as Mantrini. She is known as also Mantrini means minister. She's the prime minister of Lalitā Devi. In other words, if your breath is not right, you can't make progress in sadhana. You have to go through her. She's the prime minister, right? She's like the gateway. It's like, can I get an appointment with Devi? Nah, not happening. You talk to me first, right? Let's you and I have a deal here. And I'll give you something, you give me something, then we'll see about seeing her. Right? So she is like the gateway. She's like the bottleneck to Devi, which means the sound of the breath, it does not lie. The sound of the breath has within it the pattern of one's smallness. The smallness that comes in that Sampatkari and then Ashwarudha are working on. That smallness is that vibration that becomes our body. And mantra is the one that overcomes that smallness so that we can like wake up from this deep sleep and say, oh, okay, this whole thing is the Sri Chakra. My body is the Sri Chakra. This universe is the Sri Chakra. And I can see that I am this. Okay? So, Mantrini Parisevita. Then the next nama says, Kiri Chakra Ratharuda Dandanatha Puraskrita. Kiri Chakra means another chakra on the other side. Kiri means boar-like. Kiri Chakra Ratha Arudha, riding that chariot that looks like a boar, is another powerful goddess who is known as Dandanatha. Our other name for her is Varahi. So she's riding another chariot that is called Kiri Chakra. This side Gaya Chakra, this side Kiri Chakra. So Varahi is known as Dandanatha. And it's an interesting name. Danda means staff. So she's the bearer of the staff. And people usually equate that with punishment. Okay, she's the one that is punishing, so to speak, the smallness. Okay, but she is riding this chariot known as Kiri Chakra. The way I think of it is God does not punish in this tradition. That does not exist. Okay, what it means is the reason that we remain small, we remain in the density of smallness, where this mantra cannot work on us, is because of the load of our karma, the load of our sanskaras, the load of our vasanas. Now, what is a sanskara or a vasana? It is the end product of an action, which leaves a subtle impression on the mind. We draw some kind of a conclusion from every action, and that becomes it adds to our energetic signature. It keeps adding to our energetic signature and keeps reiterating the same type of karma. So I do something, I feel a certain way about myself, and then because I feel a certain way about myself, I do that same kind of thing again, collect more of that energy, and add that to my energetic signature. And that is known as karma. So whatever I do results in an energetic signature that makes this elephant-like heaviness. And so this mantra cannot work on this whole karmic load. And so what Dandanatha means is she comes in to resolve that karma. She comes in to take away that karma, to lighten the load of karma so that Mantrini's mantra can actually work on this, so that we can open to the beauty of the Sri Chakra, that is me, you, us. So Dandanatha means there is no punishment. It's not even justice. It is simply resolving that which needs to be resolved. So one of the things that happens in sadhana, any type of sadhana, once you become really authentically aligned with your sadhana, more and more of your patterns come to light. More and more of your stuff starts to come up and into your awareness, and you're like, and it is by divine design so that you can work on it consciously. And that is done by Varahi. So because it's not a pleasant experience, we think of it as punishment, but it's not. It's pure love that allows that kind of, those of you who are parents, it's like tough love. Sometimes you just, you have to be stern with your kids. You have to be firm, and you have to discipline your kids in specific ways. And that is really the energy of this Kiri Chakra. Now, why boar? Because boars have tusks, these long tusks. And if you see boars, they are actually digging into the ground, right, to find, to nest and to find food, and they kind of work on the vibration of that, of digging deep into the earth. And so we need to be able to dig deep into our subconscious mind in order for our patterns to become more obvious. So in Sri Vidya, Devi is in the center, then there is Matangi on one side and Varahi on one side. And we worship the three of them together. Because in order to find the beauty of Lalitā Devi, we need the wisdom of Matangi and we need the clarity provided by Varahi. Both are required. So clarity and wisdom leads to beauty. And that is the formation here of Chakra Raja, the Geya Chakra, the chakra of the breath, and the Kiri Chakra, the chakra of our sanskaras. Both being ridden here by these incredible, beautiful goddesses. Okay? Then we come to the next nama, Jwala Malini Kakshipta Vahni Prakara Madhyaga. Jwala Malini. Okay, so Jwala Malini is one of the devatas of the moon phases. And she is the one who is called by Devi. Devi kind of produces her. She creates her and she says, go create this incredible wall of fire around this entire army. And that's what Jwala Malini does. She spreads this entire wall of fire, and all of this battle is taking place in this wall of fire. Now, very important to understand this. Fire is the power of transformation. It is the power of transmutation, transformation and transmutation. So if we don't have enough of this transmuting power by way of Agni, all the sanskaras that come up from Varahi's work, instead of transmuting it, if we only see it, then that adds to the load of the elephant. If all that keeps coming up and you don't have a way of working with it, it will just, you'll start to look at it as blame and shame and guilt. You need the Agni. You need the transformative power of Agni to transmute that into beauty and clarity. And for that, you need to seal yourself off in fire, in a wall of fire, where no outside influence can come in. Now, let me give you a practical example, and we'll stop here today. Say you're working on yourself like this in a very deep way, and you are in an intimate relationship, and you're in a family, and you tell your spouse, I just realized that I can be very mean sometimes. This is your revelation coming from Dandanatha, which is an incredible insight into your own pattern, right? I can be very cruel sometimes. Now, if you don't have Jwala Malini around you, it's quite likely. Now, you remember, you're the one doing this work on yourself. Your spouse, your children, your other family members, they're not obligated to understand you or to even support you. They don't even know what is going on inside you, right? Now, your spouse will agree with you and say, hell yeah, you're really mean. Now, If you don't have Jwala Malini, you'll take that coming to you and you'll internalize it, and that'll become your elephant. Oh yeah, I'm mean, I suck, it's never going to work for me. And you'll embody that shame. You'll make it all into a rejection of yourself. Now, if you have Jwala Malini on your side and you create this wall of fire around you, they will say the same thing. Yeah, you're mean. And you're like, yeah, thank you. You have deflected it back to them. You have not internalized it because she will not allow that to come to you, to internalize it in this way. You see the importance of this? This is why in many of my immersions, when I'm working with people, I'm telling them, don't share your process with anyone. Because you will internalize it and make it into a self-blame, shame and guilt and rejection within yourself. Secrecy is the Jwala Malini. If you're working on yourself, nobody needs to know about it. If they are absolutely on the same page as you and you have that relationship with someone, that's different. But in my experience, nobody can really know what you're going through. The only person who can know what you're going through is the one you're studying with. Occasionally, sometimes in some relationships, a partner or a spouse can be useful or a friend. But if you're not doing similar types of work, you'll say something with some intention. What they receive from you will not be the same as what you're saying. Has that happened to you? You'll say something in vulnerability, but the way they're taking it is not how you intended it. That also is prevented by Jwala Malini. She creates this fire around you. And you transmute from within. Right? So this whole war, remember, with Bhandasura is going on within you. And Devi's army is within you, doing this and facilitating this transmutation. So we'll stop here now, and I'll see if you have any questions. Thank you. Shri Matrinam. Yes, Dhruva?
First, thank you for remembering today my question about home. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And my question will be about, I've been very interested about what you said about breathing, breath.
Yes.
In my life, the most easy to take away to have Devi inside of me would be breathing, pranayama. You know, as a yoga teacher, I know many techniques about pranayama.
Yeah.
The classical ones. But do you know pranayama that would be related to the Sri Chakra and the Lalitā Sahasranāma?
Related to the Sri Chakra?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, no, that is the related to the Sri Chakra is the natural breath. The Soham, which then becomes Hamsa.
Mm-hmm.
That is the breath of the Sri Chakra. That is fueling the Sri Chakra.
Okay, but are there more specific techniques?
No, there is no technique. It's not a technique. It's an arrival at Hamsa through whatever technique. You can use whatever technique, but when Soham becomes Hamsa, then when your body has become the Sri Chakra.
Yeah, but it's Kashmir Shaivism too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Binny?
Hi, namaskaram.
Namaste.
So this is my first live session. I've been watching the YouTube videos previously. Can you please throw some light on Jwala Malini again when you mentioned about keeping our sadhana or, the process we are going through private or secret?
Yeah.
What's the significance of that? Because I personally, I'm somebody who likes to share it with my closed ones because
Mhm.
it's like, they can give me a new perspective sometimes or help me
Mhm.
if I'm feeling stuck or something. But yeah, sometimes I do feel like maybe I'm oversharing because you don't know what kind of vibrations the other person is generating when you are sharing or telling them about your journey. There could be envy or there could be comparison. Oh, she's, moving ahead on her spiritual journey. I'm lagging behind. I think, and that's human nature. So, yeah, can you please throw some more light on it so that I can maybe try to implement and keep it under the covers?
Yeah. So the sharing bit is less about them.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, invariably, when you share something with someone, and there will always be some type of comparison or response or something that comes from the other side. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, do you have the ability to take what they're saying from from the perspective of equanimity and take only what is useful? Do you even know the difference?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that can be a lot of times we are also sharing with our process with people just to feel better, to get some kind of validation from them that okay, you're doing the right thing or you're not doing the right. And then like if you get validation, you should also be ready to get criticism, right? It doesn't work one way. So the answer to this is nuanced. It depends on where your process is coming from. If your process is coming from a teacher, it's best to share only with your teacher or with people who are part of that, part of the same teaching, who can understand that. Now, if you share that process with somebody who doesn't know the context, in which that teaching was given, their perspective will come from a totally different place. So I'll give you an example. Um, One example is I um, in Ayurveda, we say, avoid certain types of foods because they cause these energetic problems. Okay, just energetic problems. Along those lines, we may say don't eat any of the cruciferous vegetables, don't eat potatoes and things like that, which just cause an imbalance. Now, you'll share that. Okay, you've learned that from somebody and they have told you that in a particular context, and you'll share that. Be prepared for people telling you that's stupid. The cruciferous vegetables are full of vitamins. Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with the vegetable that you would not eat it? Now, you see, you're expending more energy trying to explain to them what this perspective is. Now, you've taken something completely out of context and you've shared it out of context. So be prepared for what comes your way. If you have the energy for that. Now, you have expended energy trying to explain to people what this context is. Why bother with that? Now, anytime you expend energy trying to explain the context, explain why you're doing something, that energy is gone. It's not available for transmutation. So this fire of Jwalamalini is your internal fire where you understand what to share, what not to share. What is required, what is not required, where you're wasting energy, where that is actually causing more problems within you. Because as soon as somebody tells you, not you specifically, if somebody says, what is wrong with this vegetable? Like it's full of vitamins. It helps with thyroid disease. Like what is wrong with you? What people who don't have that strong Agni will have suddenly start to have doubt. It's like, oh yeah, I wonder if I should be doing that. I wonder if I can combine Ayurveda and this and have Brussels sprouts once a week. I'll just have cabbage once a month and compromise in this. So you see what you've done? You're neither here nor there.
Right.
And this is how minds are affected, Ashwarudha. This is how the mind takes you in all these directions in response to a stimulus. So what Jwalamalini does is she just creates this fire so that Ashwarudha, Sampatkari, Mantrini, Dandanatha, they can all do their job efficiently. Otherwise, they're doing their job. All of this you're creating more and more problems. Making sense?
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. No Brussels sprouts. Just kidding. You can have whatever you like. Any other questions? Good. Yeah. So keep reflecting. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Okay. I also gave you a technique of how to use these namas, when to use them in putting namaha. Right? So use these namas by adding namaha every time something comes up. Make it part of your Nididhyasanam. All right. So get in our group, share your process. That's a good place to share your process because we all know the context. Okay. And I'll see you in a month. So take it easy. Shri Matre Namah.